All right. So, first episode as the Sovereign Society here with Luke Storey. And he's been my house guest for the past 3 days.
It has been 3 days.
Yeah, you've been hanging out in the Creosote Casita.
3 magical days.
It's been fun.
It's
Satnam
been real
Fest.
fun. Yeah, Satnam Fest, and you got to tell them where we are right now.
Yeah, so right now, Luke had this brilliant idea like, hey, let's record in Joshua Tree National Park. And I'm like, any excuse to go into the national park, I'm fucking down. So we're like in this new spot that Bud and I found that we've been hiking around, and it's really magical. It's like really windy right now, but to me it feels so much of like the winds of change, which I feel like is happening so much right now, like in our world and what we're seeing, and even in our space. I feel like there's a lot more awareness of like social justice and consciousness that really has to speak up as spiritual teachers. And, you have so many amazing people all the time on your podcast. So, what has been like some of the lessons you've learned really lately of social change and really making these shifts?
Well, it's funny. I never really think in terms of global impact. I think more about going into the grocery store
Mm-hmm.
and just really acknowledging the person that's checking me out
Mm-hmm.
and sending them love,
Mm-hmm.
verbally telling them that I really appreciate their help. Not that I remember to do it all the time, but I'm more of the be the change you want to see in the world kind of
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
guy.
totally.
So I like to see those reactions that come quickly. For example, say you're pulling, I live in LA, as you know, so it's traffic, which I never used to notice. Everyone would say, "Oh, how do you live there with the traffic?" I was like, "What?" And I was a fashion stylist for 17 years, which is basically
Yeah.
like being a cab driver with clothes. And I don't know, it just became part of life. But anyway, you pull up to a red light, and let's say there's a gas station right there, and someone's trying to pull out, and the egoic inclinations to be like, "Fuck that guy! I got to get there 2 minutes sooner," and like,
Yeah.
"Don't let him in, don't let him
Yeah.
in," and you see all the other like short-sighted people not letting them in, and then at a certain point, many years ago, I started just going, well, would it really kill me to just let them in, and then I've noticed lately, like I let that person in and I give them like a big smile and a wave and I go ahead, and they just light up, and it's
Yeah.
like you don't know what that person could be going through that day. They could have just gotten fired, or they're in a breakup, or their mom's in the
Yeah.
hospital or whatever, and then or they could just be a happy-go-lucky person already, and you just added to their day. And I really believe that by doing that, then they might pull up to the next light and let a person in, and so on and so on and so on. So
It's the small steps to like make the
yeah,
big
so I
change.
don't,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think ever since I saw this George Carlin skit, one of one of his famous skits is like, it's called "Save the Planet." You can put it in
Mhm.
the show notes or Google it, and he just sort of talks about. I mean, he was in a sense kind of pessimistic, but also very pragmatic and realistic about the insignificance of humans, and as much
Yeah.
as we think we're destroying the planet and all of that. And I'm not for pollution or anything like that, trust me. I always leave my campsite cleaner than I found it. But he just talks about how we're
Caught up.
so arrogant, and to think that like I can change the world or save the planet. It's like, dude, just be a good person. you know
Yeah.
and not to say that I have anything against people that get involved. It's just not been my path. My path is like have my podcast, interview people that are brilliant at specializing in some modality of health or spirituality, and
Mhm.
turning more people onto their way of thinking and their way of their perspective. So
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
that's
interesting
my
because when
deal.
I was like really considering to start bringing men on, because that was the last message I heard from my ayahuasca ceremony was like start like bringing more conscious men and more involved in your spheres in the sector that I'm involved in terms of like the podcast and like my work. I like put a poll out there on Instagram, and I had like 5 people at least say like, "Gotta get Luke's story
Oh,
on."
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah, and
cool.
then I just
Wow,
met
that's
you
nice to
last
hear.
week. And I feel like we've definitely have done this before in some other lifetime
Yeah,
because we met at the
that's cool.
Longevity Now conference.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that's cool. What's funny is I saw that your friend Sahara Rose had a little like Instagram contest, which is just turn a couple of my listeners onto free tickets to that thing. And I was going through MailChimp to just try and select someone, and I saw that she had added her email and opted in to my email thing. I was like, dude, I know you. You know, you're
Yeah.
not. I wouldn't be fair, for me to pick her because
She's been on your
well, yeah, I mean,
yeah, on the
it would be
show
like
and
rigging
yeah.
in a fucking election or something. So I
So
couldn't.
way to start with the change of like
I
starting small with
Yeah,
like
I mean, I couldn't really. It would be. I would not feel an integrity to like pick a homie and give them a free ticket. But
yeah.
I also was like the official podcaster of the event and doing a bunch of interviews. So
Yeah.
all I had to do was reach out to the people running it, and they put her on the list, and she brought you
Yeah.
as her guest. So it's funny all the synchronicity.
Yeah, I even made the lightning round.
Yeah, and then I threw you on the show. It's funny because when I did the Instagram contest, actually it wasn't. It was just an everything contest for people to enter. I was like, yo, if you end up there and I run into you, you might end up on my show. I don't think I put. Yeah, maybe I didn't put a listener on. I've done that before. I put a listener on for a few minutes,
That's cool.
but that was cool. Just meeting people, sort of impromptu, and be like, oh, you're interesting. Let's make an all-star episode and do a lightning round. So
Yeah,
that
you
was
were
fun.
definitely tripping hearing that I was struck by lightning.
Yeah, totally. Literal lightning round. Well, it's interesting too. I don't know if you remember this, but my grandmother, my nana, on my dad's side, she lived in Estes Park, Colorado, which is up kind of in the mountains right above Denver. And she was, I mean, you guys can't see, but maybe from here to that Joshua tree right there.
This one?
Yeah, right out in the front yard, and it got hit by lightning.
Oh, you remember you said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she got jacked up just from being that far from it, and then that tree had a big scar in it and stuff. And from that time, I was always like really sort of nervous about lightning.
So were there like reishi mushrooms growing on that?
Yeah, right. The most chronic reishi mushrooms. David Wolf has said
I
that.
know, that's
yeah,
what he was
yeah.
talking about at the conference.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about it.
Yeah, he's like, at my property in Canada, we have the best reishi because it's full of electrical energy. And
Yeah.
yeah. No, I don't know if I don't think at that time I knew what a reishi mushroom was. But that same grandmother, she was so fucking cool. She used to take me up to collect spring water in the hills around there. And, I was a little kid. I didn't have any significance, but I know that I loved doing it. And then we'd bring these big glass jugs home and we'd drink it all up for the next few days or whatever. And lo and behold, that ended up being one of my main practices, later in life for the past 10 years or something. I just, wherever I go, I find a spring and that's my water.
Good luck out here.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. I love Joshua Tree, but I've never been like, the desert is not my spirit animal.
Yeah.
I don't have like a yearning to be in the desert, but when I get out here, I get the vibe because it's so desolate and quiet, and there's life, but the life is hidden. It's like birds and lizards.
Yeah.
And, you don't see like, oh, cool, there's a herd of antelope. It's just there's not a lot of greenery and stuff. But
It reminds me of that like human design thing with like, you're a hermit, when I was doing mine
Right.
yesterday that we were learning
Well, that's
about.
perfect. Yeah. But there's one thing about out here is like wherever I go, I want to find a creek, river, lake, ocean. Like I need to get in the water, and if
Yeah.
there's safe water to drink, I need to drink it. And so when I come out here, it's a little unnerving because I know there's no water anywhere.
There's a dam in this park.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, there's a water. You can hike it, and it's Barker Dam.
Can you get in it?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's like
Oh, see,
down where we are.
I've been chilling with the wrong J Tree
Yeah,
people.
what the hell, dude?
Well, what I figured out the last time I was here is I drove into Desert Hot Springs. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
went
that's
to
where I
this-
grew up.
Yeah, I went to
Yeah.
this little
Hot spring?
resort called the Tuscany, and it's a cool little like Spanish villa vibe. And you can go. I stayed there for 3 days or so because we were gonna camp out here and we didn't have a permit or whatever. and
Camp spot,
We were
yeah.
trying to squat and it was just a bad scene, so we're like, fuck this. And my girlfriend at the time found us that little Tuscany place. It's super rad. It's like a couple $100 a night, or you can go in and pay $25 for a day pass, and they have a really hot hot tub with spring water, and then they have a nice like heated pool, and they have a sauna, and then like a larger hot springs tub that's a bit bigger for could fit 20 people in there. So yeah, it's a great place, and these little cabanas and stuff. It's super rad. So once I found that, I was like, oh dude, 25 minutes from Joshua Tree, you can go in hot springs. So I'm in. Wherever there's hot springs, I'm good.
Yeah, growing up there, they actually had like I remember like we used to drink the water and it didn't have to be filtered, and they used to do it in like water contests with water from all around the world, and it won year after year after year after year as some of the best water.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a water connoisseur, so
I
I
know,
love it.
yeah.
Maybe I'm a double Scorpio.
Yeah, for sure.
Could be that.
I have like
You can't keep me out of water. I jump in frozen lakes. I mean, I'm like ice baths. I don't care the temperature, whatever it is. I just went to hot springs in Utah, outside of Park City, and they have the normal hot springs is really hot. It's probably like 106 or something, and then they have this hot pool. I only saw one other person get in there. It's probably like 111, like you feel like you're going to get burned.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
it's like, this can't be safe. But I got in and I was like, no, get out. There's locals who were around
Yeah.
watching me. They were kind of in awe or shock or going like, wow, what an idiot. But no one was like, dude, be careful. It's dangerous. But it was right on the brink, I felt, of like being dangerous. But I just got to get in it.
Yeah. So how would you say? Because like, I want you to share a little bit more about your story and
Yeah.
then how these, practices, because you're so into biohacking and like, being very aware of like what you're putting in your body with like, I've seen you in my house, like what you're putting in and like the water and
And
things you're doing.
I packed light.
Light, I am
Yeah.
sure.
I was trying to keep it light. I only brought like, you know,
Like six toys, like.
6 biohacking devices. Basically, we started a clinic in your living room, is what happened. No, I mean, I think my story, I think, is interesting because it's weird. Everyone's trauma is their trauma. You know what I
Right.
mean? So there's people that have like quote unquote suffered worse trauma than I did as a kid. Um,
But it's still traumatic to you. So
it's
there's no,
subject.
downplaying
That's the
of
thing.
it.
Well, Bob
Yeah.
Marley said every man's burden is the heaviest,
Yeah.
So it's like maybe you were the golden child and, you had all these expectations and that was your trauma. And then your little brother like got beat up all the time and that was theirs. So, mine was sexual abuse and a lot of verbal abuse and just around a lot of drugs. And there was a lot of alcoholism in my family. And I started doing drugs really young as in reaction to the trauma. I didn't know how to process what was happening to me and I just felt so uncomfortable in my skin all the time from like the moment that happened at 5 or 6 years old. And so, I was like getting suspended from school in first grade for fighting and just like always kicked out of school, could never study, just lighting fires, doing vandalism. I'm like 5, 6 years old. I mean, I'm like having the cops called on me because I'm lighting shit on fire. And there was like a neighbor next door, and I took this like big, like buck knife, and I skinned a tree in their front yard. I was just really, and then I like killed their tree. I
There's
was
no reishi that grew on
yeah,
that
and I
tree.
was just like, fuck trees, whatever. I like did this weird thing where it's funny every time like I kind of tell the stories, but it just illustrates like the consciousness level that I came from. But at one point I got in trouble because I like peed in a Coke bottle and poured it on this kid's head that I didn't like, that I was like bullying.
Damn,
And
dude.
yeah, I was just hurt, and
Yeah.
hurt people. And
Totally.
this other kid, I fucking knocked him in the head with a 2x4, and his head split open, and I was just wild and just could not be tamed. And so eventually that led into really acute addiction issues, and I was sent to this strange cult boarding school in northern Idaho that was really bizarre. There's dude walking through the desert as we podcast. Hey, how's it going,
Hey.
buddy? He has a camera, so he's
Yeah.
doing some kind of media.
This is real life here.
Yeah, this is Joshua Tree.
Yeah,
No one
it's
gives a
Joshua
fuck.
Tree. We don't give a fuck.
Um,
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so I got sent to this weird school, and I had started to get in a lot of trouble with the law because I was like breaking into homes and robbing houses and doing all this crazy stuff when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old. I finally got caught, and then I got sent away to this school, which is the best thing that ever happened to me because I was on my way into the prison system. So if I had one, because what happens when you get arrested is they stack a bunch of felonies on one event, and that's how the justice system works. So if I broke into the house as I did and I got caught, it's not just like, oh, you committed a felony, 14-year-old Luke Story. You committed 10 felonies. It's breaking and entering, it's grand
Yeah.
theft, it's larceny, it's robbery, it's this and that,
Mhm.
and then they plea you out, right?
Right.
So I had to plead guilty to a number of things in order to not go to the juvenile detention center in Golden, Colorado, which is like prison for kids. And part of the plea bargain was admitting that I was guilty, going on probation, which I, of course, immediately broke by smoking weed at school and getting caught. And so I broke probation, and then it was like, cool, you're 14 now. You're going to the detention center, the kiddie jail in Golden until you're 18, unless you get the fuck out of my state. And Pitkin County in Aspen, Colorado, judge ordered me to leave the state, or if I did anything else wrong, I was in serious trouble. So I narrowly averted, thank God, getting caught up in that system, because many of the little kids and stuff that I ran around with just ended up there, and God knows whatever happened to them.
For
But
sure.
I know the stories of a couple of them, and they had a lifelong, they became just, what do they call that? Warden of the state.
Mhm.
They just got, they just got caught up in that system. So I was rescued from that, but unfortunately I came out and started doing drugs right away. I just never went back to crimes against other people. I just did crimes to help people by selling
Yeah.
drugs, you know. So,
For sure, like a Robin Hood
yeah,
esque.
I was a public servant, but I was like kind of an ethical drug dealer. I didn't burn people, and you
Yeah.
know, I mean, maybe I pinched the sack a couple times on the way from to and fro, you know.
Yeah, the middleman.
Yeah, that kind of, you know, but even that, I was like, I kind of had a moral compass at that point. So I just wanted relief, you know, and then I moved to
Hmm.
Hollywood when I was 19 and I started hanging around all these musicians, you know, that I'd listened to when I was in high school and had their posters up. And I went to LA and I don't know, you meet one guy and then I'm like hanging out with dudes from Guns N' Roses and this and that. It was fucking amazing,
It's
you
all who
know.
you know.
It was amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
I was living the dream, and my friend, the guy I used to listen to, taught me how to play bass, and then we made a band, and I'm like in a band now, in a fake ID, and doing all this, just having the best time ever. I was like 19, and all my friends were 30, you know, and so I was like the kid brother to all of these guys that played in bands, and were a lot of really great people, but they all had serious drug problems, you know, and so right when I moved there, got introduced to heroin, and shortly after that, crack, and you know, just the fun started out fun, and then it was like fun with problems, and then it was just problems.
Yeah. So
And
what was?
eventually the
Yeah.
catalyst to being into all this stuff now is it's funny, it's hard to like not digress into the stories because there's
Yeah.
so many crazy and funny and tragic stories,
Gnarly. Yeah.
but you know, the really the pivotal moment was when I was 26 years old and I just had hit the ultimate inside bottom. I wasn't arrested, I wasn't beat up, I didn't lose my apartment. I mean, it was a piece of shit apartment. I wouldn't have minded losing it, but you know what I mean? Like nothing
Yeah.
happened to me. I didn't get that smack in the face of a jail term or something
Yeah.
like that. It was just inside. The level of self-hatred and self-loathing was so profound that I couldn't numb it anymore.
It's like 20 years of,
Yeah, and
21 years of.
it's the weird thing is
Yeah.
when you're a bona fide addict like me, and you know, I was a full-blown alcoholic too. I was just completely hammered every single day. Um, you know, so I was just a hot mess. But the thing is it's like when you know better,
You
which
do
I
better.
did, when I know better, it was like the shame was compounded. So it's like I'm using crack to tamp down the shame of being a crackhead, you know? So it's like, don't do it, Luke, don't do it, don't do it. I'm just like, fuck, I would just start craving it so bad because I was drunk or I was on dope or whatever, and then I wanted to be up and I'd go get it, and then the first hit, I would just be like, oh my God, I'm a fucking loser. Like, who smokes crack? Like, I knew it was a loser move, but I couldn't stop, and then the shame cycle made me keep using, but eventually when I just knew that the consequences were outweighing the benefits to such a large degree. I was getting no benefit. I'd
Hmm.
be sitting there, and if you looked at me, you'd be like, "Oh my God, this guy is high as fuck." But I didn't feel high. I felt
Hmm.
totally sober, and
That was like a normalcy.
it's a terrifying place to be
Yeah.
when you don't get the okay, fuck. You know, back then you paged the guy. You know,
Right.
you page the guy, and you meet him in downtown LA, and you get the shit,
And everyone shows up. There's no like canceling plans
and
like today with our cell phones.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so you know, you get the stuff and get home and do it, and you're like, nothing changed. I still feel the shame. I still feel the pain, all the memories, all the resentments, all the hurt, all the guilt, all of the confusion, and all that was still there. So I called my mom, and she had already sobered up, and was, you know, really like a beacon for me, and just kind of waiting on the sidelines for me to get my shit together, or you know, lack thereof, so that I'd ask for help. And I finally asked for help. She helped me get in a treatment center, and I went there when I was 26, and that was February 15th, 1997. And and I had this really profound experience when I woke up in that treatment center. It was a regular, you know, 28-day rehab. It was out in the woods, thank God, so I couldn't run away, and there was no way to get drugs or do any funny business. So I just kind of surrendered to the fact that I was there. And that first day I woke up, my first thought was like, what the fuck have I done? You know, I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, what have I done? I literally, because I was so hammered when I went in there, and I woke up and was just like, oh shit, there is no drugs here. What am I going to do? You know? But then something really weird happened because I actually really wanted to be sober by that time, but I was, you know, unpacking my little bag or whatever, and I found a Valium, like a 10 milligram blue Valium in there. And I looked at that, and I can't remember if it was I flushed it down the toilet or I went and turned it into the counselor. It was one of those two things. I was so brain dead, I honestly don't remember. But I know that I got it, and my first thought was get rid of that shit.
That's
It
amazing.
wasn't to take it. And when
Yeah.
that happened, I knew something had changed.
Hmm.
I was done.
Progress for sure.
Yeah, it's such a like
Yeah.
It was such a profound moment, that I had no one forced me to do that,
Yeah.
and so then I went back to freaking out, you know.
Yeah.
And the only thing I knew to do, which is really the only thing I know to do now when it comes down to it, is just I started praying, in a very formal sense. That's what they told me to do. I was like, dude, I'm
Yeah.
freaking out. Can you guys give me some morphine or something? And they're like, no, but you can do this thing called prayer. It's like, really? How about Dilaudid?
Yeah.
Keep going down the list. Yeah. Like, nope, just prayer.
We'll try to find some kind of solution. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
that's what I did, and something really miraculous happened to me. I was struck sober. I was free.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Oh, I love
free.
you, brother.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's like that's why I get choked up sometimes when I tell the story because I remember what it was like to be enslaved. And for someone that's never, been under the control of something like that, where literally like you have no will, it just tells you what to
Yeah.
do, and you're a fucking slave, and it's all you can do, and it doesn't matter who you hurt or, who you abandon or the dreams that you throw away. I mean, there's so many opportunities that I had playing music, like God, I remember one time like David Bowie's producer, Tim Palmer, who had produced Tin Machine and a number of other really hit records. That was one of David Bowie's bands. He's a really famous producer, and he came to see our band, and I was kind of the PR guy and was the one that booked the gigs and did all that
Typical.
kind of stuff. And I
It's
wasn't
still
the
happening
I was
today.
yeah I wasn't the musical band leader, but I was like the band leader and just getting shit done and booking the
Yeah.
rehearsal places and all that, which is terrifying.
Leadership role.
Well, I mean, it's so ironic because I was so fucked up. But anyway, he gave me his card. He said, "Man, I want to record a demo with you guys. Let's get a deal. You guys have something special." And got some crack on the way home. Lost the card. The week later,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, what happened to that guy?" It was just shit like that over and over again. And then that was coming to an end. And so I start doing this prayer, and then that led me into just not only addiction recovery in the classical sense. There was that always was the foundation, but I was struck sober and I did whatever was recommended to make sure that that lasted. But then I started really studying, all types of yoga and meditation and really getting into my health
Yeah.
and started detoxing all that. So bringing us, fast forwarding up to today, it's like at first I had to take care of my health and detox all of that shit out of my body, and I became
Mhm.
a vegetarian, was juicing and doing colonics and all this stuff like in the late 90s when no one really knew what that was about except people that had cancer and had failed with chemo or whatever. Alternative healing was very fringe and like woo
Totally.
woo at that time. So I started getting into all of that, but even as my health improved, I realized that my mentality was so toxic. I was so full of hatred and resentment toward others, and really at the core of it was hatred toward myself, and it was just being expressed out toward everyone, and I lived in constant fear, and I was so self-conscious. I mean, I was just pathologically narcissistic. Everywhere I went, I literally felt like I was like being filmed. Not paranoia,
Dude, I can relate.
but just like, like
Yeah.
trying to look
Fuck.
cool and like how I
Yeah.
dressed
Oh,
and
I
my
was a
hair
paranoia,
and
but
like
like,
if I had
yeah.
a pimple like or I was just so hyper vigilant about getting people's approval because I was
Mm.
so empty inside and I was just so identified with ego and mind that I started to realize like the physical sobriety was a good start, but like man, I needed to learn how to feel comfortable in my
Yourself.
skin and to
Mhm.
find some integrity and become a moral, honest, kind, loving, giving person instead of this rapacious, self-centered survivalist. It was just
Yeah.
from the time I was abused, it was just like, fuck, I got to survive this world. It was like a cold, harsh, dangerous landscape, kind of like we're in right now in a certain respect. And so I really started working on myself. And then at a certain point, after a few years of still survival mode and recovery and health and doing all that stuff and going to India and just on all of my journeys, then it wasn't so much about the avoidance of pain, but at a certain point, it switched into the pursuit of pleasure and peace and joy and happiness. And I learned how to be of service,
Mm.
you
I mean,
know, and that,
clearly, fuck, you're in my house and you're like telling me all this stuff. Like, you guys don't know, but today, like, I had fucking, like, the ambulance at my house this morning.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
like, I just wake up to, like, Luke looking over me and, like, my friend Raman who's sleeping in my bed and two paramedics. And I'm like, what is going on? And when I hear that, because today's my anniversary of, like, my really difficult LSD trip that I had, that really like rocked my fucking world. Like it was just cracked everything open, and I went in with like really like anger and like not the right setting. And so I feel like because I was like convulsing, right? Like this morning.
Yeah, I mean, I can describe
Yeah,
what
God,
happened.
please tell me because
So I'm sleeping in the spare room, and your friend Ramen is over that I just met at this, the Satnam
Satnam
Fest,
Fest, yeah.
and we go to bed. I don't know, we're all hanging out, shooting the shit at night, playing your fucking singing bowls and hippieing out, and we all go to bed. Everything's chill, and then like 4 in the morning, and I sleep with earplugs. I live in the city,
Yeah.
so I have a whole protocol to like get to sleep because it's so loud and bright and just crazy where I live. So I have my earplugs, my face mask, and all of a sudden I wake up to her barging in the room. Luke, something's wrong, Sabrina, come here. And I jump up and like, I'm in my underwear, I like put my shorts on, they're backwards. I'm like, kind of once I woke up, I was like, okay, cool. Then the calm handler of shit came over me, which I'm grateful to have built. I only get riled by little shit. It's funny. Like if my computer doesn't work, I have a fucking hissy fit. But someone could be dying, and I'm like, we got this. We're
Yeah,
cool.
for
There's
sure.
this
It's the fight or
certain
flight.
yeah, there's certain like handle it energy
Yeah.
seems to take over, and that was so we come into your room, and she's like, dude, she just started like shaking and breathing. I don't know what it is. This is your friend, and so I just sat on the edge of the bed, and essentially you were breathing like and you were vibrating. You weren't like convulsing like a seizure, but just vibrating. It's hard for people listening to, get the visual, but just when a puppy shivers after you get it out of the bath, kind of
Yeah.
like that. You're like kind of shivering, but it was a bit more intense than that. It was on the surface of your skin, but more your skeleton or your nervous system was shivering. And that was weird enough, but if I had shook you and you were like, what, oh my God, and continued to sort of convulse and shiver and breathe and have a, elevated heart rate, I would have been like, okay, cool, this is scary. But what was really fucking weird about it is you wouldn't wake up. It's like you were in this weird paralyzed sort of state. And I was like, Sabrina, and I'm pushing you. I didn't want to be too violent with it because if you were having a seizure, rolling someone around and shoving them is not the
Yeah.
answer. Didn't appear that you were swallowing your tongue. Your eyes were closed, but like to me, you weren't asleep. You were like paralyzed. When someone's asleep, you fucking push them and call their name loudly, and they wake up. You were not waking up. So, after maybe 5 minutes of that,
I was still shaking.
yeah, and I had my hand on you, kind of like on your side, and on your back a little bit, and I could just feel you vibrating. And then I was like, "Yo, we need to call 911," which I don't do. I mean, unless shit is super gnarly, I'll get out my fucking biohacking stuff,
Shit, yeah.
fix shit myself. I trust myself more than most paramedics, but it was, this was like beyond my level of expertise, clearly, and so we called 911, and then what they do is they stay on the phone with you. Okay, count her breaths, and I had to count her breaths, not breasts, people,
Breaths. I only have
breaths.
two.
She only has two, thankfully. She's not having a litter coming anytime soon. So she had count her breaths, and so I did that, and just kept me on the phone until they got there. And it's amazing. You live close to the hospital. They got there very quickly. But was, of course, like the minute I called, then you started calming down. And I was like, oh shit. And I'm thinking, oh, how much is this going to cost her? I couldn't find out if you had insurance or something,
Yeah.
because you're in this comatose weird state. So they show up, and then it was crazy because I was kind of waiting for you to wake up with them there and be like, what the fuck you guys doing in my house? Like,
Yeah.
be pissed or shocked. But you woke up and you're looking around like, what is wrong with you guys? You're like laughing. You're laughing, going like, oh my God, what
What
are you
is
guys doing?
happening?
What is happening? What is your problem? Like, what are you guys doing? You were just so amused, actually. That was a really funny reaction. I thought you'd be scared or angry or feel violated.
I think I was just trying to process what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, and then she looked around the corner and saw a gurney, like this big orange
Yeah.
gurney in the hall, and she was like, what?" And then, they checked obviously, yeah,
vitals,
they checked
yeah.
all her vitals and all that stuff and determined there was nothing wrong. They thought for sure she had been at Coachella and was taking drugs, and
Yeah, I was like, we're the complete like 180 of what that is.
yeah, I'm like, we're at the most sober possible event ever, I think. Apart from like an AA convention or something. I mean, honestly, you go to a Kundalini Yoga Fest is not like party.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of party. So but they were cool, but they really recommended that she go to the hospital,
And I signed off no.
she decided not to do that. But I think obviously I would have called them back over or found a way to get
Yeah.
you to the hospital had it continued. So
Yeah, I appreciate you
yeah,
being there. It's just because usually I live by myself, so I like can't
yeah.
even imagine like.
It was a trippy situation.
But I feel like
never seen anything like
and I
that.
asked you to share that because, like I said, it's been this anniversary for me in the past 6 years. I've
Yeah.
been imprisoned by that situation of how I didn't react in a way that I thought I would have.
Yeah.
But like I was just so deep in my own neuroses and psychosis and like my own traumas from that difficult LSD trip.
Is there an LSD trip that isn't difficult?
No, but this was like really like I was
I
literally
know. I'm
like
not making light of it.
yeah,
I'm just like, oh my God. There always something fucked
yeah,
up happens when I used to take acid.
yeah,
Because it's the funny thing about LSD for me is I always liked the part where you're tripping for the thing.
yeah,
You know, so I'd go to like the Pink Floyd laser show in Golden Gate Park, or I'd go see The Dead or Jerry Garcia or something.
yeah.
It was fucking awesome for
Oh,
that two
I'm
hours.
seeing trees that were like changing colors and shit. It was
Yeah, for
awesome.
that
Yeah.
2 hours, it's dope. But then you're out in the parking lot, like, huffing nitrous balloons, like all depressed as fuck. It's like no
Yeah.
event lasts long enough for the acid to like stay being good. So I think every trip I had ended up being a bit challenging.
Yeah, but no, this one was just like I was, it led me to my spiritual path, like from that experience because it was just so much of my trauma from like childhood and experiencing a lot of death. I've been sharing with you some fucking crazy stories I've gone through like this
Yeah.
weekend, and so a lot of that came up. Like love was trying to enter, and I felt like not good enough, and like all these kinds of things, and so I just felt like I disappointed a lot of people I was on it because it wasn't like my ego, wasn't like performing in a way that I really wanted to or whatever. There was like hesitation and
Yeah.
stuff,
I relate to that.
and then I had like that, and then a lot of things after that. After I was like, oh fuck the man, and it was like election time that time, and I just really like fucked around and like was just really like working against the system and being really rebellious, and then got struck by lightning like right after that. So there's a lot of damage to my nervous system. And before that LSD trip, I was really abusing a lot of MDMA, like every week I was doing MDMA because I was a
Yeah.
music journalist. So like that was my part in the music community was just like eating Molly instead of drinking and like interviewing DJs and dancing. And, so I think what happens with that being the anniversary today and being in Satnam Fest and listening to like Guru sing and like doing so much yoga yesterday too and talking so much about the nervous system and up leveling to like 5D consciousness and things like that, I just feel like it was being purged out of me and like really transmuted. Like when I'm hearing the story and I like really tap into it, because like all day today I've been thinking about it, like why, like what was this like, what was happening? And I really feel like it's been so much transmuting because a promise I made in April was to like really like rewrite the story. And so to get out of that victim, that's been something I've been talking about so much, like getting out of that victim mode and choosing to become more victorious. And so rather than being like, oh, the poor Sabrina, poor me for what happened to me, it's like, okay, like how can I like transmute that and see it as an opportunity for me to be able to have a conversation like this or have like a conversation with you where we can talk about these experiences and can help someone else that may be going through it, because I get messages every day from people like, oh my God, you're helping me to be vulnerable. Oh my God, like, how much I'm making an impact on their life just by sharing my story and being like authentic and true. So I believe there is no such thing as accidents, I mean, of course it can be fucking tough when you're going through it, like regardless if you're having a difficult LSD trip or not, it can be fucking tough. But I think now it's at a space where, it's like, okay, there's a bigger divine purpose that's happening, and so I'm just going to continue to be on the journey and see how it continues to unfold. And I feel like you probably feel that way too with your experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is I'm beginning to have a clear definition between pain and suffering,
Mhm.
and as time goes on through the yoga practices and, just recovery and all of the stuff I do. I mean, everything just gets much more pared down and simple. I've been off on so many woo-woo tangents and all sorts of different things, exploring, and it just comes down to a very simple spiritual approach for me, and that is in moments of trial to know that it is a trial, and that there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a Buddhist saying about I think it was Trimpa, what's his name, Trimpa Rinpoche or something. I can never pronounce his crazy weird name, but he was one of the big Buddhist teachers that Pema Chodron and all those people were turned on by. And he talks about, I think Pema tells this story, actually is probably where I heard it, but it's something to the effect that you're wading out into the ocean, and that wave just comes and smashes you in the face and knocks you down, and you stand
Mhm.
back up, and and the wave comes and smacks you in the face again. And after a while, it's not so much that the waves stop coming, it's that they just kind of stop bothering you.
Yeah,
You
for
know what
sure.
I
It's like
mean?
you're able to navigate through it in
Yeah.
a way where
So
it's
yeah.
not, yeah.
So for me, it's just challenging situations like that. It's not. I don't have to wait so long after them till I start feeling centered again to look back and see the lesson. I'm actually in the lesson and feeling pain and discomfort often because I'm
Mhm.
always growing and expanding, but I don't conceptualize it as suffering. I don't often experience it as suffering because I know that there's a purpose to it and it's taking me to a higher level of
Mhm.
understanding. So
Yeah, there's a divine purpose behind it all.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
for
and
sure.
all of it, and that's why we're here. I mean, we're in the kindergarten for human souls here, and so yeah, you're gonna get your ass beat by the bullies and you
It's I
know,
feel like that,
and
but
by
that's
the
what like really
elements.
enriches your human experience too. It's like you're seeing what
Yeah,
the perseverance and like how
yeah.
strong you really are.
And then every little thing that I go through, of whether it be financial, familial, relationship, spiritual crises, whatever, then once I work through that and I'm able to establish what the lesson is and integrate that into my character,
Yeah.
then it's so it's impossible to not have compassion and empathy for someone going through their journey. And
Mhm.
also, you have like the oracle powers to be like, oh no, here's how you're going to work through this because you just did that shit.
Mhm.
So for my friends that are a bit younger than I, like my friend Elliot, and I have a few friends like that where the relationship started out more in a mentor kind of relationship, then we kind of they catch up
Yeah.
or exceed me in certain areas, and then we become each
Kind of like an
other's
equal
yeah,
like
become each
yeah.
other's teachers and
Yeah.
and students all at once. But when they're going through something that I've been through, it's like, oh my, it's so clear
Yeah.
what the answer is in terms
And
of
you see
how to
how
proceed.
much growth you've had from that, and like cuz you
Yeah,
get those flashbacks sometimes. It's like, "Oh fuck, like I've been in those shoes," and like
yeah,
how great that you can help lead it so everyone's in their own journey and they're all going to take it on their own, but like you can really help someone cut off
yeah,
some of that pain and suffering that they may have endured in that experience. That's what I feel like I do with my platform, by sharing about being vulnerable. I fucking hid for 4 years. Like I took a 4-year sabbatical and hid. Like didn't show face on social media, like nothing. Like I just traveled around trying to figure out like my mental health, my psychological health, and like really enrich my spiritual health. But now I'm in a space where I can like step up and lead. And I'm sure you feel like that with your podcast too, with like educating and having
yeah,
conversations, and like it's what creates richness.
yeah. It does, and also when you go through the fire and you have those many dark nights of the soul, not only does it give you wisdom that you can pass on to others that are in similar circumstances, but it also eliminates the need to try to save them and rescue them and get
The
all
martyr.
codependent and fucking crazy. It's like, really giving people space to experience their challenges in the way that
Mhm.
they're meant to experience them. And if they want, I mean, I have a very like low touch relationship with people that need help. It's like they go, man, I'm suffering, what do I do? And I go, well, when I've suffered in similar ways, here's how I've prospered out of that suffering, as you said, become victorious rather than being victimized by life and its circumstances. But I don't get involved or try to save or rescue people. It's like I have a very I'm getting better at it. I mean, I've had to learn to be able to do this, but a very sort of non-attached love. Like
Mhm.
there's just boundless, unconditional love for that person, and I'm there for them.
Yeah, hold
But I ain't
space.
losing
Yeah.
sleep
Yeah,
because
fuck that.
that's the shit that they have to learn. Just like when
Mhm.
I have to learn, I mean, we're really all alone at the end of the day,
It's
you
very
know?
much of the priest energy. Like for you
Yeah,
being a man, for priestess is
yeah.
like the healer that's like helping guide them, rather than being like I'm the knight in shining armor that's gonna save you.
Yeah, I mean, when I call my guy's name's Jeff Kober. He's a Vedic meditation teacher, very wise man. He's considerably older than and I call him when my ass is on fire. I mean, we chat here and there. I go to a meditation with him or something like that. But when I'm like texting him, can you talk now? Can you talk now? How about now? How about now?
Yeah.
When I really need that, he's been through all this shit. You know what I'm saying? He's been
Yeah.
meditating for 32 years or something. It's like I have my go-tos, but when I call him, he really doesn't save me.
It's just hold space so you can talk it out, and
Yeah,
yeah,
and he
for sure.
offers his experience and his wisdom, but he
Mhm.
doesn't try to fix me, change me, save me. He doesn't tell me what to do. doesn't
Mhm.
really give me very concrete instructions, although I have had many mentors and teachers over the years that are like, okay, what happened with the girl? All right, here's what you do. Text her this.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
or your boss did what? Oh, fuck, no, you need to quit. You walk into their office, here's what you say exactly, and then you call me the moment after you've done it. And if I didn't do it that way, they wouldn't mentor me anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, I've had tough love. I've had people take over my life and control every aspect of it because it was so precarious at times. But where I am now, my teachers are like, hey, here's some Vedic wisdom for you. Take it with a
Figure
grain
it
of
out.
salt. Yeah. And then it's all you to go have that experience.
So what has been like, cuz I mean, I'm doing my mentorship program again, and I know for me, I'm blessed to have like pretty amazing women that I've had as mentors. Like one of them works at the Chopra Center, so she like, is trained by Deepak, and another one is super powerful doing a lot of her work in Silicon Valley with all the, the tech people and Bitcoin and all those people. And so for me, I know mentorship has been like super important. You're talking about like, like what would you say like now being in the other position of like mentor after being mentee for a while, and even still sometimes this day, like you're mentioning, like what have you feel like has been some of the greatest like blessings from that, being able to hold space, and then also like seeing the transformations, but realizing that people, it's an opportunity for people to like reclaim their own power.
Well, today, for example, my friend Elliot's girlfriend Bree
Yeah.
pulled me aside and she was like, "Hey, I want to tell you something." I said, "What?" She said, "You know what? As they've been together a couple months or something. It's a new relationship. They're just getting to know one another. But I've been a huge part of his life
Yeah.
for 7 years or something, and we've known each other for longer, but really been tight, And when I met him, he was in a bad place in many ways. So she said, "I just want to thank you for how much you've helped Elliot. It's really clear that you've had such a profound impact on his life, and it's been a positive one. And it's just incredible the things he shares with me that he's learned from you and the experiences you guys have had." And it's like, I mean, I just started crying,
It was so beautiful to watch that moment.
Yeah, and I'm a feeling person. I'm an emotionally centered person. I definitely am in touch with that side of myself,
Yeah.
and I think in a relatively healthy way. But that's just like a reaffirmation that, again, all the ways in which I've suffered have then not only served me, but been able to serve others. But now, as that relationship has progressed, for example, to answer your question more specifically, he's got his own. He's a grown ass man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He's not like little Elliot that I have to like coddle and
Wipe his
protect.
ass.
Yeah, which is kind of how it was. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like King Baby I used to call him.
Yeah.
No, I call him Baby Huey. Because he just didn't know how to deal with life. I got a parking ticket. What do I do? I was like, dude, seriously, grow the fuck up. But I had to have my ass wiped and up until my mid 30s probably. So there's that sense of appreciation and gratitude when it's not only reflected by the person but other people around them that just objectively
And
see,
recognize.
yeah, what a profound
Mhm.
impact you've been able to have on someone's life. But in those situations, I mean, those are just friends. That's not like a coaching program.
Right.
Now, when you're getting paid for it, it's a little bit different, and
Right.
it's something that I've done, and on my website right now you can apply for the coaching program that I have and stuff. But I don't know that that's like my
Your niche.
long-term thing.
I see that.
It's interesting because the few people I've worked with, I've felt like I have helped them, and it was the exchange of money and guidance and care. So I take it very seriously. I feel has been fair, and I feel good about upholding my end of it. But it's also difficult for me to do that remotely with the people
Mhm.
that I've really worked with and helped in a more profound way. We see each other all the time. Like I'm in their grill, and it's a
Right.
full-time thing. And I don't know many people that would be able to afford
That.
those type of
Yeah,
services
for
because it's
sure.
so intensive, it's so hands-on when someone's in a desperate place and they really need help. So in terms of having that kind of influence and helping people from a professional standpoint, I'm still kind of figuring out a way where I can do that I feel good about and that I don't feel is like a burden or a pain in the ass.
Yeah, well, I feel like you do that with your podcast too,
Yeah, I
like
mean
in a way.
I guess it's like I create content that seems to really benefit people based
Yeah.
on the feedback I get, direct messages on Instagram and Facebook and all this stuff all the time. Oh my God, your
Mhm.
podcast changed my life, and they're really profound messages
Yeah,
most
it's
of the time.
yeah, I hear you.
So I'm doing that, and it's just like cool. I get to sit down and interview people that I'm actually learning from.
Mhm.
Like when I interview people, I don't think maybe some people that listen to my show don't realize like No, the guest is like mentoring me. I really, really want to know
That's
the
how I
answers,
feel
and then I'm
sometimes.
asking
Shit.
them.
I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, fuck yeah, I got this person on. Like, I
yeah,
get to pick their brain and, like, yeah,
yeah. Like we were
totally.
talking about Guru Singh, when I mean, I've been going to his classes for years, and I've always wanted to like sit down and have a conversation with him and ask him all about the early days and this and
Yeah.
that, and what his views are about this and views about that, and I got to sit down with him in his living room in front of a fire on
Yeah,
a
I love that
sheepskin
video.
and talk to him for 2 hours. So I am on my own journey by interviewing these experts in different fields, but then other people I kind of forget are having an experience perhaps with a amazing human like that for the first time. So they're getting these like in-depth,
Downloads.
yeah,
Yeah.
downloads of consciousness or even just the health, the physical and the
Hmm.
metaphysical. A lot of people still, I forget, don't know some of the things I know about health just because it's been
Yeah.
a span of time I've been into it, So someone, is like just took their first infrared sauna or something. I'm like, I was doing that shit 20 years ago. Like that's just part of my daily life. I
Yeah.
sort of take it for granted. It's like, well, duh, everyone takes ice baths every day in a sauna. They're like, you jump in ice? I'm like, what? Doesn't everyone do that now? So, it's fun to get that reflected, but in terms of how it's going to work for me in a more personal level, I don't know,
But you're doing it even without like clientele. Like you're doing it like
Yeah,
for like people like Elliot or like,
yeah.
like friends that are calling
My
and like
vision is kind of like yours that we've talked about. I see it's like I don't want to sit in a fucking hotel conference room and like do a PowerPoint and tell
I
people
can't.
how to build a lifestyle. So I think my thing's like go to Costa Rica, go to
Mhm.
Mexico, go to Hawaii, go somewhere to Iceland, to the hot springs, like go somewhere fantastic to a beautiful, well-designed, architecturally interesting and
Treat
gorgeous,
yourself.
high vibe,
Yeah.
and not that I only want to treat wealthy people, but I just like being in beautiful surroundings
Yeah.
and being able to experience nature so
But
I
you're
can
also out of your comfort zone in those places too.
yeah, so I can really pattern interrupt people, and
Yeah.
maybe I spend time with, 2 weeks or something, like a deep dive with 20 people or something like that, and have a profound impact, and not just talk about shit, but actually do it. Do the Kundalini, do the breath work, do the ice
Mhm.
baths, get in touch with nature, ground, get in the sun,
Mhm.
get naked, get hot, get cold, get back in touch with the elements.
It's like natural biohacking because that's something that
Yeah.
I asked you. I think last night I was like, or the first night I was like, like I'm very aware of like what's going on in the world, and I something that I'm really working on more is like, um, as a white woman is like how do I like start reaching more people of color and people of like maybe like disimpoverished. I'm having like fucking deja vu saying this right now, like in this space right now. It's trippy. But like, helping people realize that like you don't need like yes, the fancy equipment and stuff like that's in my house right now is amazing. But like even us being right now in the national park, like this is a form
uh,
of biohacking,
it's everything. It's
Like
everything.
nature is such a strong kind of
Our
experience
problems as a society, a large global society, I believe, are all
because we're
rooted in
disconnected in nature.
and from one another.
Yeah, totally.
We got here for the past 2 million years by roaming around, eating everything in sight
Mhm.
together in groups of 50 or 60 people. That's how humans do humanity. And
Mhm.
then the universe, God, progress happened, and here we are, locking down pieces of land. Agriculture came to be. With agriculture came the city state, came government, came military, because now you have to protect your property. I mean, you could take it back to about 12,000 years ago, and that's when we went off the fucking rails.
For
Not to
sure.
say we're all sitting around singing Kumbaya and, being happy villagers before then, but in terms of the neurosis we have now, a lot of it is because of the fact that we're
Overstimulation.
being overstimulated, we're disconnected, our families are totally disjointed. We have babies that aren't breastfed, that never get touched, that never get held, that are left alone to cry, and they grow up to be abusers of other people and, criminals and drug addicts and the cycle. And not that I'm negative. I mean, I really zoom out from the whole thing and I just see we're just again in school and humanity's in its infancy, and there was this period in which we were more in tune with nature, and I think obviously the records of fossils tell us we had less disease, and the spirituality that was pre-religions tended to be more in alignment with the laws of nature and animals and plants, and us being like part of ecology. And then agriculture happened, and religion and the police state and military disconnected us from ecology. And what I like to do when people call biohacking is like reconnect to ecology, like become part of the system. And that means eating in a way that's in alignment with nature
I feel it right
as much as
now.
possible.
Yeah, I feel
And it's
it.
a great setting to talk about it. But as far as like the biohacking and making it accessible, and like you said, some of these devices are really expensive. I mean, I get people all the time in my Facebook group like, oh, well, and I answer back, dude, you need to work on your poverty consciousness. Like, that's your
Yeah, for
problem.
sure. Well,
It's
that's
not
the
that you can't
biggest.
afford this device. I used to
Totally.
think I can't afford this shit either, and now I have it all in my living room.
Yeah. Well,
So,
it's everything's
you
mental.
know,
It's all in the mind. I mean,
yeah,
that's like been the biggest thing for me. Like since buying my home and living in Joshua Tree, I'm kind of like disconnected from like crazy city life and like
yeah,
billboards and all that shit.
yeah,
That
yeah,
it's like the poverty consciousness and realizing like, dude, I am the creator of my own fucking reality.
yeah.
You know?
But
And
that said, the answer I have after, let's really look at your consciousness, because that's what I'm actually working on right now is expanding the possibilities for me and changing the way I think about money and wealth. And I've always thought it was unspiritual to like
right.
have money, and to be a real spiritual person, you have to be struggling and broke. And I'm really working
You
on
know
getting
what?
rid of
Maybe
that.
because that's what we were in our past life as
It
like
could
spiritual
be.
beings that were just like, the shamans, like
Could be.
shamans in old and like older eras,
Yeah.
everything was taken care of for them. The village would provide for them,
Maybe.
So now it's
Well,
like,
I mean, in the tradition of meditation that I use, Vedic meditation, the teacher, you donate a week's pay
right,
to learn, and you bring fruit and
right, right,
flowers and
right.
stuff. Because the goddamn yogis, however many thousands of years ago, lived up in the Himalayas in a cave. In order for them to keep teaching the villagers meditation, you had to bring them some shit, and they didn't work, and they were poor. But that's a different era, and that's a different role. I'm a householder, man. I'm out in the
Yeah, for
world.
sure.
But back to the biohacking, because I really want to touch on this. It's the consciousness that I am abundant, and I can buy whatever shit I need to support my health.
Get it.
That said, I always tell people, dude, you don't need all the fancy machines. Like, that stuff's fun, but really all those devices I have in your house right now, which we can, perhaps go into a little bit for people wondering, because they are amazing. They all just use elements of nature and magnify them, because we're surrounded by geoengineering and shit being sprayed in the sky, and EMFs and Wi-Fi and 5G, not the good 5G you're talking about, but the 5G,
Not
cell system.
5D, not 5G.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. 5D,
5D
fifth
dimension.
dimension.
Yeah,
Okay,
not
okay.
5G. Clear that clear.
Every time you
Clear,
say
cut,
that, I'm
cut,
like, wait, does she
clear,
like
clear, clear.
5G?
No,
That's like
5D.
Cancer City.
No, no, no. Fuck that. No.
We have smart meters. We're so disconnected physically. Our biology. We literally walk around in rubber shoes, dude.
Oh yeah, well, that's
know?
what happened when I had my LSD trip. I was barefoot, so I was feeling everything of the planet.
Well,
Yeah.
that's you can work with that or against that.
Yeah.
But anyway, those technologies really all just amplify and use laws of nature, and we can get into that. But what I tell people that are like, oh, I want to really work on my health and I want to awaken my biology so that I can really have a primed vehicle by which my spirit can interact with the world in a way that's free of disease. I mean, really, like, we're meant to be optimal. Every human body is inherently blueprinted with power and strength and virility
And
and energy and
vitality.
vitality. Like, that's how we're
Yeah.
designed,
Totally.
The domesticated lifestyle, unfortunately, has diminished that. But I always say, like, if you can just ground, like, if you can have your bare skin touching a tree, grass, dirt, water, as much as possible, you can use grounding technology in your house
Mhm.
that grounds down under your house with the wire.
Yeah, like in
Um,
your car.
yeah, my car is grounded. I have a grounding sheet on the bed I'm staying in your
Yeah.
house. I always am walking around barefoot whenever possible. I mean, here we are. We're outside right now. I have a natural fiber sheepskin, which is conductive on this ground. I mean, the ground's very dry, so it's not as conductive as like wet grass or something.
Right,
But it's
right.
still, I'm technically like electrically grounded.
And we're in a vortex of Joshua Tree National Park.
Yeah, totally. And then the other thing that people are really missing is the power of breath and oxygen, of
Yep.
oxygenating your body. Now, you're a Kundalini yogi, so you know this, but I always recommend to people, like, you don't have to get all woo-woo and wear a turban and do Kundalini and shit. Learn the Wim Hof method. There's an app for it. You can learn it in about 5 minutes, and that will change your life. You can be
Mhm.
getting a cold, do some really intense breath work, and fire up your
Breath
immune
of
system.
Fire
Yeah,
is so potent. I remember
yeah.
listening to
So,
your episode with Guru Jag, and you're talking about like Breath of Fire.
dude,
And, yeah.
your breath, which is really just oxygenating your cells,
Mhm.
and being grounded. And then the next thing, there's two more things, and it's all the elements. I mean, it's really so simple, and this is the ultimate biohack. The next thing is your light. We are designed, we have photoreceptors all over our body. People think that only our eyes have
Oh, fuck that.
photoreceptors. No, your whole body needs to be out in daylight and sun as much as possible without, of course, burning yourself, which would be,
Mm-hmm.
counterproductive. But it's like if you wear contacts, man, you got to go outside with no contacts because you're filtering out really
Nutrients.
health-giving nutrients from light. Natural sunlight is a wide spectrum of different colors. Right now, the rainbow is present, but we just see blue sky and a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of chemtrails.
Fuck them.
Um, so, but we're designed to take nutrition out of light. Light is nutrition, and we need it. It's what regulates our circadian rhythm, and that regulates our hormones, and they regulate our neurotransmitters. If you want to get off fucking antidepressants, get out in the sun. This is why when you go on vacation, you go usually somewhere tropical. Why? Because you're grounded, because you're in the water, because you're in the sun with a lot of naked body, and that's why you feel happy when you're on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're in water, you're grounded, you're in the
Mm-hmm.
sun.
Mm-hmm.
You get happy and you get horny when you're in the sun. Have you ever
Totally.
noticed that? You go to
Totally.
fucking Tulum or whatever, everyone looks sexy and happy and everyone's getting tan, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
why? Because our hormones are on fire, our neurotransmitters are up. And then the next thing with light is the toxic artificial light at night,
Oh, the blue
yeah,
light.
which we call blue light. And I know like people still think I'm a kook when I talk about this stuff because I'm so passionate. Because when I started
No, he's
eliminating
like really passionate, guys.
when I started when I started eliminating blue light from my life at night, it changed my life. That and getting early morning sun gazing, getting
Yeah.
naked as possible in the sun. I'm kind of olive skinned, so I don't really burn
Me
even.
too, brother. Congrats.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm fortunate, but I have a friend that's he's Jewish, but he looks Irish. He's
Yeah.
the kind of Jew that's like redhead and freckly. I forget
Mm-hmm.
there's like a breed of Jewish people that are more that tone.
Yeah.
I forget what you call it, but he's very fair skinned and has freckles. My buddy
That's my
Harrison.
grandmother. She's
Oh,
Irish.
really?
My grandma's Irish,
And
yeah.
I trained him how to work with the sun, and now he goes to the beach. No, I mean, he might wear a hat or something, but he knows his threshold, and he can go out almost with us olive people and be chilling. He worked his way up.
And that's what's the other thing too, before we go any further. Like
Yeah.
a lot of our sunscreens and stuff have the chemicals in it. So then
Oh
like
my God,
if
sunscreen
you're
is so
if you're
toxic.
putting the sunscreen on you and then you're sitting in the sun, you're actually your skin's your largest organ, so you're actually absorbing the toxins of the sunscreen, which is more detrimental than the sun.
There's two things about sunscreen. A is that the stuff that works is full of chemicals, as you said, that
Yeah.
are going to probably give you cancer because your skin is your largest organ. Your skin eats and breathes. So when you rub something, you know how you can rub lotion on your skin, you're like, whoa, where'd it go? It
Mhm.
got absorbed. Where the fuck do you think it goes? It goes right into your bloodstream. If you ate some suntan lotion, you think that that would kill you? No, because it goes through your digestive system, it gets detoxified. Your skin doesn't have a detoxification. It goes right into your bloodstream, into your
Don't eat
brain.
sunscreen, but
So, yeah. But here's the thing with the sunscreen, it's also really bad for you because it blocks the UVA
A
light,
rays. Mhm.
and so you're only getting the UVB. So, yeah, you don't get burned, but it's a totally unnatural spectrum of light, which is also what contacts, eyeglasses, sunglasses, and any windows in your home, car, or office do. We've created glass, which is awesome. We can stay out of the elements and still see. I'm fucking grateful for glass. Glass, love you, ground up sand that they make clear. I mean, it's fantastic stuff. How do they even do it? I'm all for glass, but if you don't get outside of glass every
Mhm.
hour or so, if you work in an office, you are playing yourself so
Yeah,
hard.
because I can tell if I'm like stuck all cooped up in the house, like editing podcast episodes and shit like that all day, and like Bud's yelling at me to go outside. Like I can tell the difference when I've been cooped up in a
Yeah,
house, and like even just like EMF waves of our technology, and
yeah.
like you've gave a great idea for me to put my router on like a timer switch so that I can turn it off between like before bed and like while I'm sleeping, so that those rays aren't really going through.
Yeah, you're lucky the houses that you live around are pretty far away too. I mean,
Yeah.
living in a city is just a disaster.
I can,
Uh,
because that's why I feel, because after my
yeah,
lightning accident, I've gotten so
I
sensitive
bet.
to things like that like I just feel fucking drained when I get back home from LA.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
because everyone's on their phones,
I'm kind
everything.
I'm kind of dreading going back to be honest, because I'm like, oh man, I'm going back into like Wi-Fi, cell towers, all that stuff. But anyway, I want to touch on the blue light
Yeah,
with a little more
Blu-ray, of course,
detail.
yeah.
So just think about it like this, okay? First off, when I say blue light, I'm talking about all lights at night that aren't orange,
Or red.
red, or amber,
Mhm.
okay? even yellow is better than white. So when I say blue light, I'm talking about any white light. So
Like fluorescent lights,
they're
right?
just all lights.
Yeah.
LEDs are some of the worst lights
Oh, for
ever.
sure. I'm
Yeah.
working on getting all those out. I've got more
Yeah.
Edison bulb
Yeah.
in my house.
Yeah, I noticed that your house has a nice little warm glow. So when I say blue light, it's like headlights, it's every light when you go in Target, like
Ugh.
anywhere you go at night. So again, I love glass. I also love lighting at night. It's awesome that it doesn't have to be dark when the sun goes down. But here's how you have to think about it. Okay. Again, going back, what does nature do? How did our creator design the planet and our relationship to it? Here's how we've evolved. This is what our bodies and brains are wired for. The sun goes down. There's this thing called sunset. Shit turns all yellow, orange, and red because the sun is far away. It creates a different spectrum. It's not blue out anymore. The blue sky goes away, right? So sunset, sunrise, they have that nice color.
Mm.
All right. So what we've done is the sun goes down. It gets black as shit outside. It's totally dark, and
Especially out here.
we're like, yeah, it does. So we're like, cool. Thanks, Edison. Awesome. Now I can flip a switch and make it daytime again, which is really convenient. Here's the problem, though. Your eyes receive that light because they're two very powerful photoreceptors. They send a message to your brain that says, hey, brain, guess what? It's 12 noon because I just walked in the grocery store at 11 p.m. or a 7-Eleven, or I'm driving down the road and these LED headlights are hitting me in the face. Your skin even has photoreceptors, so you could have like orange, blue blocking glasses on at night, walk around your house in bright light naked, and it still shuts down your melatonin because
Hmm.
your skin is a giant photoreceptor. We're very similar to a plant.
Right.
We just can't, digest it, obviously, in photosynthesis in the way that a plant can, but not that far off. So if you think about how we've evolved, if we were hunter-gatherers, right now it's getting a little dark. Like a couple more hours, it's going to be
Yeah,
dark out here.
sunsets in like seven.
What would happen is that we would light a fire, and then we'd all be dancing, drinking some kind of homemade booze. Everyone would be off their little thing, doing their thing, and then we'd all go to sleep. And then the sun would come up, and the animals start chirping, the birds start chirping. It's good time to hunt and gather. Then we're up with the sun. You go down with the sun, you're up with the sun. The only way we would cheat that is with fire for just say 200,000 years now. Okay, we don't really know exactly what happened, but we know there was no goddamn LED lights before that. So we invent the light bulb, and now we're a few generations in to tricking our brain and our body into thinking it's actually daytime, like midday sun in the middle of the night. You think that's not going to fuck up your hormones,
Oh, fuck yeah.
your
Well,
neurotransmitters,
that was
your
the thing
circadian rhythm?
I feel like after doing the amp coil today, and it was saying how like so much of mine was my endocrine and
Yeah.
like my reproductive, like 100%.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is just showing really the evidence of what's going on with like possibly that blue light. And
Yeah. It's I'm telling you, do you ever see these old ads for cigarettes from the 50s?
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, your doctor says Marlboros are
Yeah,
good
yeah,
for you.
yeah.
And we're like, ha ha, those idiots, how could they have ever fallen for that?
Yeah.
Everyone knows cigarettes are bad for you. That's the lighting epidemic right now. And
For
people
sure.
are catching on. Apple makes their little night shift
I
thing.
have that
It's
go on,
okay.
yeah.
It doesn't cut all the blue, but it's better. If you're in bed looking at that, I mean, you're
Or
just
maybe you should just not be in bed and look at your phone.
that's good. I did a hack on my phone in the settings that I make it all red now, and then it's
Oh,
like the
what?
short. I can show you on your phone. You can
Yeah.
hack it. Yeah, it's unfortunately it's hard to describe to
Yeah.
the listeners. It's in like accessibility. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
weird.
yeah. Cool.
It's very hard to get to, but it's like way cooler than night shift. And there's something called on your computer you can get. It's called Iris.
I have one that's called Flux, and so it
Flux,
naturally goes.
But Flux, again, like Flux and Night Shift are good entry level.
Yeah.
But to go hardcore is
Mhm.
Iris, and you can turn your whole screen like red, where there's no blue. I
Oh,
mean, it
wow.
sucks for Netflix or whatever, but but if if you want to do late night work, because I mean, there's a multitude of problems. The main issue with the blue light is. This is scary, okay? So melatonin is the master hormone. People just think, oh,
Right.
it's that pill you take to sleep. No, melatonin is a master hormone that controls so many other hormonal processes in the body. If you see blue light, once it's dark, it shuts down your melatonin production for up to 4 hours afterward and increases your cortisol.
Oh, yeah, and that's
Cortisol
what makes you fat.
it makes you fat. It makes you stressed out.
Yeah,
Cortisol
totally.
is like when you almost get hit by a car. You're like, that's that.
Yeah,
Well,
for
looking
sure.
at your phone with blue light also does that. But it's not just on your devices. You can hack that, and there's ways to do that. But really, inside your home, and when you go out, when you drive around, when you go in stores and things like that. So, the easiest thing to do is now they have more companies are coming out with these like red and amber and yellow glasses.
Which I saw for the first time at Longevity Now, like everyone really having them.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just you being in my house and
But they
wearing
used to
them.
be super douchey. Like you get them on Amazon, they were like those work goggles. I mean, I used to roll around Hollywood in those, and like,
No, but tell them that you have yours custom made.
yeah. Well, my friend Matt, who's coming on my podcast soon, he has a company called Raw Optics, Raw like sun,
Mhm.
Raw Optics, and you can
Mhm.
buy any frames, prescription or sunglasses or whatever, and you take
Mail
them
it
to
in.
Lens Crafters, and he
Mhm.
tells you these plastic lenses you get put in there, and then you mail them to him in Philly, I think he lives. He dips them in this special dye that's the right color to cut out the blue and the green. The green also stops
Wow.
melatonin, and then he sends them back to you. So the ones I have used to be sunglasses, but I don't wear sunglasses because they're bad for your eyes. We're not meant to wear dude. If the sun hurts your eyes, not looking into the sun, but
Yeah,
being
yeah,
out in a
yeah.
bright,
Then you have
your
really
eyes are fucked
sensitive
up.
eyes.
Your
Yeah.
eyes are fucked up. You've been domesticated.
Yeah, I haven't really worn sunglasses in months, but I just got my
Yeah.
custom pair that my friend made.
If
And
the sun's really bright, you wear a hat and
yeah.
you cut down the glare. You don't
Mhm.
want sun in you directly in your eyes. Obviously, it'll really hurt your eyes
Yeah.
unless it's sun gazing. But you'd have to really study how to do that safely, and you have to kind of work your way up. So the blue light thing, you can get non-douche looking pretty cool glasses made now that cut out the light. So I just wear those around at night. And yeah, some people look at me funny,
Who
like,
gives a
oh,
fuck?
kind of looks like you're wearing sunglasses,
Yeah.
which is like the ultimate douchery. Like, oh, really, dude? You're like that cool? You got to wear your
Dude, only
sunglasses
wear
at night.
sunglasses at night.
You know, but it's like, well, you guys are gonna have shitty sleep tonight. I'm gonna be
Yeah, for
crushing
sure.
it
Which
in
would be
like
so brilliant,
in
like
deep
a
sleep.
festival, like for me, like
Yeah,
because there's so many of like the LED lights and all
it's
that at
crazy.
night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but now people are catching on, so it's cool. But that again is like. It's like, oh, it's biohacking. No, it's just like, let's follow nature. It's really
Yeah.
basic common sense.
Mhm.
So the lighting, and then the other thing is working with temperature, and that's like the fire element is
Mhm.
infrared saunas and sunshine and getting really hot sometimes, heating your body up and then making your body very cold, which you can do with
Ice baths.
ice bath, ice baths or cryotherapy.
Yeah.
And I got into that from doing, cold plunges, going to Colorado and jumping in rivers, that are
Mhm.
freezing and just kind of getting invigorated and things like that. But then I started doing cold showers, 20 years ago.
It's very good for your nervous system.
Yeah, then,
Kundalini yoga,
a few
yeah.
years ago I get into Kundalini and Yogi Bhajan's like, oh, take a cold shower every day. I'm like, no shit, bro. I've been doing that forever.
Yeah.
And then into cold showers, I segued into ice baths, and I do those all
Mhm.
the time now. And see, here's the thing. In nature, as we're sitting right now, it's so lovely. We're designed to have fluctuations in temperature all the time, depending on
Mhm.
where we are in relation to the equator. Obviously some of
Mhm.
us migrated into, the Eastern Bloc or whatever, and some of us stayed in Brazil, and we humans travel all over. But one fact remains is we're never just living at 68 degrees for
Totally.
the most part.
Especially in fucking out here in the desert.
Yeah.
Like it's getting like 120.
Yeah, so we go
you
to
know?
work. What's the temperature at work? 68 degrees. We come home, we set the thermostat. What's the, 68?
yeah.
Everything is 68 degrees. There's very few places in the natural world that stay 68 degrees.
Totally.
I mean, out here in the desert, it's 105 in the daytime. At night, the shit is like 45 sometimes or
Yeah,
whatever,
I mean, it was freezing this morning.
Yeah,
when we were
so-
like, trying to ground.
So if you don't want to be a zoo animal, a domesticated animal, I mean, you've heard my friend Daniel Vitalis, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he has this whole thing on domestication. He's much more knowledgeable about it than I, and it's his area of expertise. But he likens our modern, quote unquote, modern world to being like domesticated animals. What happens when you take animals out of the wild and you put them in a zoo? They eventually start to die
Totally.
because they're not eating their native diet, which for
They're
us would
trapped.
be a hunter-gatherer
Yeah,
diet.
totally.
A local diet, a seasonal diet, etc., and they're in bad lighting,
Mhm.
and they can't move their body in
Mhm.
natural ways. And so, working on our movement, working on our environment, all of that stuff can be done mostly for free. You might have to pay to get in an infrared sauna somewhere until you can afford to buy one. But even that, I mean, they start at like $1,000 now. I recommend Clearlight. They're a little more than that, but they're the kind of gold standard. They don't have EMFs and things like that. So
Which is a whole other conversation.
yeah, so in terms of the biohacking, like you don't have to have money to do this stuff, but while you're working with the natural elements and undomesticating yourself, you can work on your poverty consciousness
Yeah.
where you can like really invest in some of these medical devices that are really useful, man. I mean, when I drive, 2 hour, well, my drive down here was 5 hours because it's Coachella, but I literally have my hydrogen, my
Yeah, I
molecular
saw.
hydrogen
I saw in your
inhaler in the
stories.
back of my car, and then riding shotgun is my Nano V, which makes this really amazing healing water vapor that you breathe in. And I just alternated between those the whole way. And 5 hours later, I get down here. I'm 47. I should have been smoked. I
Yeah,
got
you
here and
were
I was
like
like,
full of energy.
I
Like,
was
hey,
fine. I
yeah.
mean, it wasn't the most awesome trip. It's like the ugliest drive ever.
Well, thanks for. I mean, yeah, we just thought no, but even just like being the trooper,
Yeah, but like without those tools, I mean,
you would have been
I would have been a lot more fatigued because what am I doing? I'm doing something totally out of alignment with the natural world. There
totally.
are laws in the universe. There are natural laws, like gravity would be a really simple, example of that. And gravity eventually is what kills us, really, when it comes down to it. You kind of shrink back into the earth. The earth swallows you up, microbes eat you, and you become flowers and grasses that animals eat, and then bigger animals eat those animals, and that's the cycle of life, and we're part of it. So I'm in a car for 5 hours, totally out of that rhythm
Yeah.
with the planet. So you got two choices. You either move to the goddamn boonies and live off grid with no electricity and no unnatural lighting and live off the land and only hunt and gather berries, seeds, animals, whatever. Or you live in a town or a city and you got to work with technology and use it to your advantage. Be smart and you can strategize and actually use technology. Like, cool, have lighting in your house. How about instead of all those white and blue bulbs, you just put red and orange bulbs? It's a little weird
Hmm.
at first,
Yeah, it's an adjustment.
but you get used to it, and then pretty soon you're like, you go into someone's house that has bright lights. I'm like, you're like a fucking
Fuck that. I know.
vampire.
That's how I am. Like, I have like
Yeah,
my kitchen lights like yellowish dim. Did you see
yeah,
that? My in
yeah,
light.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, awesome. Yeah, that's the light I usually keep on
yeah,
because I'm so sensitive to the blue lights too.
yeah. And we should be. It's just we become used to it. Just like
Yeah.
you can get used to riding in an airplane, it doesn't mean it's good for you.
Mhm.
Look at bunnies.
I know they're
I
everywhere.
have to say, this is the first podcast I've ever recorded watching. What are those
Wildlife.
cottontails or something? What are they called?
There's jackrabbits and
Jackrabbits.
cottontails. That
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ones with the big ears.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I know.
Yeah, it's
Isn't this
pretty.
beautiful? This is my new spot.
I know. I wonder if I could move out here and like only record podcasts
Yeah, right.
outdoors. Actually, this is opening up for me because I'm like,
Yeah, you're
obviously
talking
I
about
live in the middle
moving.
of the
Yeah.
city. I'm like, shit, if I could find somewhere quiet in
Look at how
LA.
quiet it is here. Like, there's like one guy that walked by with a camera, so he's not fucking
Oh, this is
bothering us.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we're having a
amazing.
good time.
So yeah. So that's my spiel on, the health part.
Yeah. Okay, well, I want to ask some light. I'm so grateful to have you and like you reaching out, and this is like bringing more of like the divine masculine energy I wanted to bring in. So thank you.
Hell
Um,
yeah. I
uh,
love it.
but I wanted to ask you some lightning round questions because
Ooh,
I
cool.
told you I have
Yeah,
some.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you did mine. Okay, so what
You
would
know what? You were one of the only people that understood what a lightning round was.
really?
God bless some of the other people I interviewed. I
Yeah.
was like, cool. I'm gonna ask you these quick questions. You give me quick answers, and then I wanted those things to be like.
Well, we're on average like 20
I
minutes.
wanted to be 15 or 20 minutes, so I could pack in like eight
Yeah, yeah,
people in
yeah.
one long episode, and then some of them went to like 35 minutes. I was like, ah.
I think I did pretty good. I did like 24.
Yeah, yours was good. So it was my bad as a host, though. I don't think
Yeah.
I like
Clarified.
illustrated.
Okay, well, it's Mercury retrograde, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, so I might have to
Okay.
make a really long episode of
Or just
35
or
minute
just do
ones.
part 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say is your spirit animal?
My spirit animal. That's interesting. Wow. I don't ever think about that.
I know, that's why it's lightning round.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. You know what's funny? I think it's probably dogs
Mm.
because I used to have a very adversarial relationship with dogs. Growing up, I was attacked quite a few times pretty brutally by big, mean dogs. And I used to say, I hate dogs. And like their barks would really annoy me.
Yeah.
And they slobber on you and you touch them and your hand smells. I was just like, why would someone have one of those gross creatures in their house? And then I had a girlfriend a few years ago, and she just burned me out on wanting a dog finally. So I was like, all right, I got her a dog for Christmas, this little Papillon. He's still in my life, and we're not together, but I still get to see the dog sometime. So we work together, and I fell in love with that goddamn dog. And then I got it. The dog thing finally clicked, and I was like, "Oh my god,
Oh, I wish Bud was here.
dogs are the coolest people on the
Yeah.
planet. Like dogs are so awesome." So I think now I don't think of
And they're
myself.
also loyal too, and I feel like you're a very loyal and true person.
That is one of my top qualities. I would say is loyalty. If people
Yeah.
do right by me, I'm ride or die. I'll go to the grave for their ass.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. Okay, so what was one movie that completely changed the trajectory of your life?
A movie. God, let me see. You know, it's funny. I think the movies that they're not even movies. You know, what has changed my life is watching. I mean, in a sense, they're videos. You can buy a
Yeah.
DVD or a
Yeah, yeah,
download.
yeah.
You know, they used to be DVDs, but probably watching the work of Dr. David R. Hawkins and
Mm.
watching his lectures. I got to see him a couple times in person
What was
before
it
he
about
died.
them though?
He had a very pragmatic, non-dualistic way to explain how to live a spiritual life. And
Beautiful.
and I have those videos on my laptop, and they have a really, really high vibration, but they're very down to earth. I mean, he was just like a dude that ate at truck stops and probably voted Republican and was like the most spiritually profound person I've ever heard.
I love that. Okay, so what would you tell younger Luke today?
Oh, that you're lovable.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to not know that for a
Yeah,
long time.
of
Still
course.
sometimes I forget, you know.
Yeah, we get caught up.
I would tell the young Luke and the current Luke that like you're good, you're okay. You deserve to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so of all your biohacking equipment, what is one you
Oh
cannot
man, don't do that to me.
what is one you don't think you could really live without?
You know, I've thought about that before when it comes to technology, and we were talking about this the other night at your
Yeah.
house. Like, you know, I think you asked me, do you think you have like an attachment to this, or you're addicted to this stuff? I was like, oh, definitely. Like,
Yeah.
I can't go anywhere without this stuff. I'm so used to just feeling so on fire, you know.
Mhm.
You know, could I do that with just breath work and shit? Probably. Um, I would have to say if you're like you can only have one device that you plug into the wall that's good for your health,
Mhm.
it'd probably be the infrared sauna, my clear light sauna. I mean, that's the thing that I just feel is so necessary for detoxing, and
Mhm.
also it's just so good for your nervous system. It's so calming, it helps you sleep, it's so relaxing.
Yeah.
It's good for your skin. It burns calories from just sitting on your ass, which is my favorite way to burn calories. So yeah, probably the sauna if I could only have one thing for the rest
Okay.
of my life.
So who would be someone you really, really, really want on the Lifestylist podcast? Like your
Oh,
dream
I
person.
have my number one guest.
Yeah.
My number one guest. I mean, there's you know spiritual teachers and people like that are not celebrities that are just people that I really
Yeah.
respect. But as far as like a big guest that I'd have to really work to get would be Steven Tyler
Yeah.
because he's such an interesting person and he's you know he hangs out with Ram Dass over in Maui and he's super into meditation and
Yeah,
spiritual. But
totally.
we have a unique short history because when I was very first sober. I was hired as an assistant stylist, and shortly after she hired me, she booked Aerosmith as like a full-time client. And so, really, my first job when I was sober was working for Aerosmith and helping with the wardrobe and stuff. And they were sober at that time, and I think he's maybe not been at times since then. It was a long time ago, but I believe appears to be now because he's successful. You can kind of like tell if musicians are sober, like if
Yeah,
they're selling
totally.
records and doing well, you know. But he was the first cool person I met that was sober because I thought sober people were losers, even though like I'm laying in the gutter, like judging people that have a job walking above me. But oh, more rabbits out there breeding. Um, but you know, I got to sit down and spend some time with him a couple times, and there was one time in particular, and you know, my boss was like, "Hey, I'm hanging with Steven. If you want to come by and just chill." We weren't because I was just working. I didn't really get to
Mhm.
talk to them. I was like, "Here's your tie, sir," or whatever. You know, I was just wardrobe boy. You know, and
Mhm.
it wasn't like we were chilling. But one day I got to go over and hang out, and I was like, "Dude." I'm 6 months sober. I'm freaking out. Like, how do you do this? He's like, man, you want to know duels? I was like, yeah, bro. We sat and like drank non-alcoholic beer. And he was just like, he's such a cool person. You know,
Awesome.
he's just so rock and roll and just so out there. But he was like, dude, I'm fucking sober and I'm loving it. He was so happy
Oh,
and
I love hearing that.
successful and making great music and, you know, playing at the Hollywood Bowl. And I remember, though, I asked him, and I hoped I get to interview him and tell him this story, but it was kind of funny because sometimes people that are famous for that long, and I worked as a stylist for like 17 years, so I know a lot of celebrities and if they've been successful for a really long time, they kind of lose touch with what it's like to be a normal person.
Right.
You
Because they're
know,
so
God
caught
bless them.
up
I
in
mean,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
for
the way it is.
sure.
So I was like, dude, I'm playing in a band and it's like really hard. I'm in these bars. I'm like shaky. I'm around alcohol and I smell weed. And like, how do you do it? And he was like, oh man, you know, if I start stressing out, bro, I just fly over to Maui and I go hike up to the mountaintop and I meditate and then I come back on stage and I look over and I got Joe Perry right there. And I remember thinking, really, dude?
That's just
I was
normal
like,
thing.
really,
Yeah.
Steven? I'm like, bro, you know. I'm homeless and I don't have Joe Perry in my band. Like, give me something real. But so he's someone I'd really like to interview just because he probably has no way, he might not even remember me or have any knowledge that he really helped me in that way. But I was like, if that guy could be that cool and not do drugs, I'm willing to give it a shot. And I did, and I have.
That's amazing.
And I think I'm kind of cool to some kids, that are like,
Mhm.
being sober is lame. And I talk about it now. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. And I've inspired quite a few people, based
Yeah.
on messages that are like, dude, I've been struggling with addiction, and you make it seem not lame and
Yeah.
fun and exciting. So
Cool. So, in a world right now that
that wasn't
is.
very lightning. Here I'm like clowning on my people.
Yeah, I know you asshole. Wait till you're on the other side. You're like,
Now I
oh
get it.
god, yes.
It's hard to be lightning. All right,
Yeah.
I'll see if I
That
can.
was a storm.
Right?
Okay, so this is probably not another lightning one, but still kind of lightning. So in a world today that's so like future is female, which I don't really agree with. I think it's all inclusive. Like, how do we continue to hold space for divine masculine men like yourself to really, not be intimidated by the women's empowerment movement and to really show up and have that appreciation and that I see you kind of thing, like of supporting women while also like being in a healthy kind of space.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny being someone that is just currently embodied in a body that has a penis.
Mhm.
I don't take my manhood and your womanhood all that seriously. I think that's a duality. That's a game that's very easy to get caught in that positionality at a certain level of development. We're like, I'm fighting for men, I'm fighting for women, and not to discredit,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anyone that's been, trust me, I was raised by a feminist grew up in the '60s in Berkeley. Like, I get it. Okay, I'm not that guy. Um, but to me, like if I see a shirt that says the future is female, it doesn't really give me the feeling that I want to support that. I'm kind of like, oh, really? Like, ew. So I'm not included. How about the future is we,
All together, all
yeah, we get
inclusive.
to know
Yeah.
each other and support each other, and I get
Mhm.
to support whatever you want to do as a woman, and I'm all for that, and you support whatever I'm doing as a man, and we learn how to be cherishing and respectful of one another, and we grow together and identify our differences. That's the thing.
Mhm.
It's like it's so obvious that we're equal to me. It's like when I was a little kid and I found out about racism, I was like, what?
Yeah, for
Who is that
sure.
retarded? Like, literally, the color of your skin is a problem. I just never, and think my mom was really cool. And, we had constantly had Marvin Gaye playing and stuff. So it was like, I just didn't get that,
Yeah.
like that sort of limited, ignorant perspective. And it's the same thing with this. I'm just like, dude, we're so much bigger than the body that we're embodied by. That said, I believe that we should all obviously be equal, but we're very different. So
Mhm.
let's find out what those differences are and let's work
Work
together
together
in
to create something.
cooperation and really
Mhm.
make magic. And
Mhm.
that's the magic of procreation. When you
Mhm.
take the female seed and the male seed and you make a third entity,
Mhm.
whatever gender that turns out to be, that's the magic of true transmutation, right? And that's
Mhm.
creative power that we all have. And if we can learn to support one another and use that together, that's the future. The future is
Mhm.
understanding each other and our differences and creating absolute equality. It's like the first wave of feminism
For
was
sure.
so needed, man. It's about equality. Like, duh,
Mhm.
women were getting fucked over for eternity. Yeah, like, let's stop that. But it can't go the other way either.
No,
Now,
it's
a
only
modern guy like
progress.
me, I don't want to be vilified because I can't help it that I was born with the body that I'm in. It's just the way it is. I make every effort to be conscious and respectful of
And
everyone.
empowering of all people.
Yeah, dude.
Totally.
That's the thing, I've it's like I got feedback once or twice or three times on my show that was like, I don't even know what this word means. I still want to Google it someday and find out, but they said, your show's cool, but it comes off as very heteronormative, and I was like, whatever that means, it has something to do with like being a heterosexual guy and having that perspective, and it was sort of like, well, what other perspective
Do
could
you
I
know?
have
Yeah.
subjectively
Do I
because
know?
this is me? So, while I can be inclusive and I can be curious and I can highlight people that are unlike me, which I do, I never really have people on my show that are a carbon copy of me because how boring. There's no
Mhm.
contrast. But it's like, well, this is the lens from which I'm viewing it, but that doesn't mean that I can't try and get into you and view things from your side. I mean,
Perspective and your stories and
yeah,
your
that's like
experiences.
cultivating the principle of empathy. Like, wow,
Totally.
what if I had been born of African American or Latino or gay or ended up identifying as trans or being a woman? It's like, wow, that's so amazing that we have the opportunity to express are
Various forms.
yeah, to
Yeah.
express all these different forms. And so this is the form I'm working with, and I'm learning how to cultivate more masculine energy and use that shit consciously.
Mhm.
And if you, as a woman, as you asked, want to support that, then encourage men to be men.
Yeah.
You know, let a guy lead, like let a guy protect and serve. I mean, just be honest, okay? If right now there was a riot,
Mhm.
a fire, a war, someone being raped, someone being beaten,
Mhm.
and you had a phone with two numbers in it, would you call a male body or a female
Oh
body?
fuck yeah, I'd call a male body.
Okay,
Oh yeah. Well, see, that's I always grew
you
up as
know,
one of the boys, so like
so
that's why I
you
like.
know,
Yeah, I get
men,
it.
a man that's truly embodying his masculine, and this isn't to say that women can't protect themselves. Okay, don't.
Yeah.
I'm just not like, oh, women are weak, so they need men.
But
As
you
a man,
can't do it by yourself.
what
Yeah.
makes me feel the most alive is like looking out for people and protecting people. And like, I mean, I
Mhm.
remember there was, I hate to tell this story because it's like ruins a good deed when you tell it, but I was walking down the street and this old woman had just fallen on the fucking street and cracked her head up and was bleeding everywhere. It's like, and I was the guy. I mean, I saw it from across the street, and without even blinking, I ran over there and just handled all that shit.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know,
It's a
held
fight or
her.
flight.
Yeah, held her and just, I mean, it was like there was no thinking about it, and God guided me to know exactly what to do and what to say to her and how to remain calm and handle everyone coming up and freaking out. And I was like, whoa, that's masculine energy. Not to say that a woman couldn't do the same thing,
Mhm.
but if she did, she would be in her masculine energy,
Totally.
handling shit.
Totally.
You know, and so we learn as we evolve to play with that. I can also sit here and cry with you about a spiritual experience. That's very feminine, feeling, allowing. We have to
It's a
learn.
duality that we need within
Yeah, we
us
have
because
to
that's
learn
the
how to
balance.
cultivate those, but that doesn't make one better than the other. It just is
Mhm.
like, wow, we're different. Let's learn how to play with those energies and celebrate the
It's a
differences.
dance.
Yeah, and celebrate the dance, you know?
Mhm.
And so to me the future is cooperation and understanding,
I
you
love
know.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, that was so beautiful. This is why I wanted to have more men on my podcast. So
There's
when
a
you,
lot of guys like
yeah.
me that
So when I
you
reached
know.
out, to like when you were like you're like, dude, let me know like if you want cosmic dudes. I was like, this is my sign of the universe. They even said like in April, like I'm calling in the divine masculine in all areas of my life, And so this is like a huge part of it, so that we can all come together and be all together and really be like this very beautiful, like intrinsic
Yeah.
symbiotic, because for us to with the way the world is right now, like we have to really come together and cultivate a symbiotic relationship amongst all people, otherwise humanity isn't gonna
You know,
really
and I
shift.
want to, it's true. And I want to just, you know, I know you have a lot of female listeners. I'm like, I don't want any more hate mail.
No,
You
don't.
know,
He's amazing.
it's like, see, my approach and the way that I'm describing this of that cooperation is not like brushing under the rug that things have been unfair, continue to be unfair, that
Totally.
people are getting subjugated and abused and all of that. Okay, that's right, but I'm just talking about accentuating the positive. Like, cool, let's
Mhm.
not ignore the dark. Like, the dark in my life is how I've been able to transcend the dark
I
and
hear
become
you.
more light.
Amen.
I'm not about like spiritual
Love and
bypass
light.
and yeah, and
Yeah.
all of, you know, pretending like people aren't getting abused and that things are unfair. No, like let's fix whatever's broken. Sure, I'm all
But
for
we
it,
fix
but
by empowering all people.
yeah, but
Yeah.
my personal mission is not in that space. My personal mission is like have a podcast and find the most brilliant women in the world and interview them like I always do.
Mhm.
I interview women about childbirth and the best way to do it and also talk to them about how cruel it is to circumcise baby boys. You know, I'm not taking sides. I'm like, let's show
Have a
all sides.
conversation.
Let's show all sides, you know, and
Mhm.
that's I think that's important. But it's not, you know, I just want to be clear. I'm not like ignoring that there are issues that need to be
For
addressed.
sure.
It's just like when someone's like, "Well, that's easy for you to say. You have white privilege." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Dude, I was born into a bunch of alcoholics that abused the fuck out of me. You know, it's like
Yeah.
if that's white privilege, I'll take something else. You know what I'm
Oh, the
saying?
butterfly just
It's
flew again.
like, you see what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
It's back to that thing. Like each one of our pains subjectively is our pain, and we experience it as hard as the next person's pain, even though objectively one might appear to be worse than the other. You know,
Totally.
I've suffered a lot in my life, mostly at my own hand. I'm just
Totally.
being a damaged, hurt person that took trauma and made more self-inflicted trauma to deal with it, you know?
Mhm.
So I'm about alleviating suffering for all people.
That's with my tattoo. I was showing you this when we were eating lunch
Yeah.
earlier. Without suffering, there would be no compassion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if that suffering shows up in a body with a hole in it or a body with a stick on it, like I really don't give a shit. I don't even see it like that.
Totally.
You know, I'm like, I'll help you, whatever you
Mhm.
are. As long as you're respectful of me and other
Get
people,
it.
I'm down with you.
Okay, cool. So my last two questions. One question is, what, like, if you could give a quick, like, thing of advice, like, from your heart through your own experience, and what would you share?
I mean, to me, the number one most profound truth in my life is that there is a loving creator, there is a God, and it's so it's not something you have to go find, it's something you have to acknowledge that's here. It's like there's nothing that's not God. So it's not like, is it over that hill over there? Do I need to go seek God? No,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you just have to identify that if your heart is beating right now, God is working in your life, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so it's about how much more of my own humanity can I surrender to that benevolent love and intelligence, you know? And so it's just my message is God is real, whatever word you want to use for it. And I think that I don't really believe a human being. Well, no, I can't say that. That's not true. I have never been able to have any sort of rich, meaningful experience of life without staying grounded in that
Knowing.
experience and that knowing. Maybe some atheists and agnostics are living the dream. I don't know. For me, that didn't work. Like I have to find a connection to that power, and how I do it is not in a religious or dogmatic way. It's just I find universal truths and laws of the universe, and I try to just live by them.
As Yogi Bhajan said, if you can't see God in all, you can't see God at all.
Yeah, yeah. Another good one is if you can't find God, guess who moved?
Damn.
Twasn't God.
Yeah, for sure.
God's not lost or hiding. It's
Yeah.
that it's being the view's being obscured by ego, by preconceived ideas, by my
Mm-hmm.
own arrogance, by my own,
Mm-hmm.
intellect is a bitch. I mean, I'm lucky that I'm not an intellectually driven person, so it's very easy for me to see the majesty that is nature and that is God. But I've worked with some people that are highly intellectual, and they have a very hard time because there's so many things that God is outside of the realm of intellect. It's in a different dimension.
For
So it's sort of
sure.
like trying to explain what a bird's experience is to a fish. It's
Yeah,
just
for
like the fish are down
sure.
there going, this is the world. It's
Yeah, for
wet. We
sure.
swim around. You're like, no, no, no. There's this other world up there where you fly. Only
Mm-hmm.
a flying fish knows that. So become a flying fish.
Awesome. Okay, so then the last question is, where can we find more from you?
Well, my podcast is kind of my crown jewel. That's where I
Yeah, it's
really
amazing.
thank you. That's
Yeah.
where I think I shine. I'm pretty good at finding really interesting, brilliant people and asking them questions that are compelling, and that's what I'm most passionate about. And then I also live stream those a lot on Instagram. So my Instagram follow I think is pretty good if you like the podcast. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff on there,
Mm-hmm.
and then my main website is lukestorey.com with an EY, and there's tons of video
And all the links
content.
are in the show notes below.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also I have a store on my site because people always ask about where do you get the blue, black, and glasses and all this shit? How do I know which one? I finally just decided I don't even sell anything. I just have links
Mm-hmm.
in various categories like sleep, travel,
Oh,
office,
brilliant.
whatever on my site. So if you're like, wow, I want to get into health, what's the best supplement for this or that? You can go on my site, and I've linked out to like all my favorite stuff. It's called Luke's Master Market.
Fuck
Actually,
yeah.
there's a picture of Joshua Tree on that site page
Even
too.
on your like flyers for the
That's true.
lifestylist.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, my podcast cover is a picture of Joshua Tree. That is
Yeah.
funny. Doo, 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 doo. Enter Twilight Zone theme song.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for holding it down and for joining me and all your toys in my house and holding space for me this morning and for being you and taking the time to chat with me in this amazing
I'm so honored to be
space.
the first male-bodied soul to be on your show too. Thank you. And
Yeah.
it's a really great like wrap up to a fantastic weekend. And I'm so glad we did it out here too.
Yeah. I know,
This
'cause
is
we were talking
dope.
about like in my house, you're like, no, let's go in the park. And I was like, oh, I don't know traffic. We're like, oh, fuck it. Let's just try. So,
It
yeah.
might be a trend. I know you do a lot of yours on Skype because you live out in sort of
Yeah,
a
I live
remote
in
area,
fucking
but man,
nowhere.
when you get people out here, it'd be cool to
I
kind
know
of,
my last few episodes have been in person, and it's been so lovely because people have been like staying at my house or like
yeah.
they live
Well, as
here.
you manifest your retreat center, and your show gets bigger, you'll have a little more juice to get people to
Yeah.
come to you. That's what I'm hoping for. I can get to Topanga, Ojai, and be kind of quote unquote, I'm doing
Like
air
a
quotes.
destination spot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
be
for
kind of
sure.
famous enough and have a big enough podcast where people are like, where do I have to drive to be on that show? Okay, I'm
Yeah, for
going,
sure.
you
You can
know.
stay at our house.
Listen, like if Tim Ferriss is going to have me on his show and he was like, hey, you need to come to Idaho to be on my show. I'm like, okay, see you. I'm on my way to LAX, you know, so hopefully we can all get to that place where people can come to us and get some refuge and
And
then
we do that together.
yeah,
So that's
and
supporting
create
each
cool
other
cool
in
content
community.
and, you know, and an escape for people at the same time.
Yeah, well, thank you again. And thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you next time.